War in the Pacific during World War II represented one of the deadliest and most brutal theaters of conflict. Tens of thousands of American soldiers found themselves captured by Japanese forces, facing unimaginable trials. Understanding their experience involves acknowledging a story not only of suffering, but also of resilience, solidarity, and hope amid despair. The scale of the Pacific War was vast. After the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Japanese military campaigns rapidly overwhelmed Allied positions across Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. This led to mass captures of American and Allied troops, particularly notable during battles such as the fall of the Philippines and the protracted struggle for Guadalcanal. The journey into captivity was itself a harrowing ordeal. Thousands of prisoners were marched across hostile terrain, often under brutal conditions, only to be loaded onto overcrowded hell ships. These transport vessels were sealed, airless, and filthy, packed with prisoners who endured starvation, dehydration, and disease. Many perished during these transits before they could reach internment camps. One of the darkest episodes was the infamous Bataan Death March, when approximately 75,000 Filipino and American troops were forced to march over 60 miles with little food, water, or medical care. Thousands died from exhaustion, abuse, or outright execution. Once inside the camps, the harsh realities continued. The POW camps, often remote and poorly equipped, provided little protection from tropical weather, disease, or malnutrition. Prisoners lived in overcrowded, unsanitary wooden barracks, faced with insufficient shelter from rain or heat. Rations were typically meager, small portions of rice supplemented sporadically with watery soup or vegetables. Protein was rare, and scurvy, starvation, and other ailments were rampant. Forced labor was a daily reality, with prisoners working long hours in physically demanding tasks such as logging, construction, and mining without proper tools, clothing, or rest. Medical care was grossly inadequate. Supplies were scarce or non-existent. Simple illnesses could become fatal. Wounds left untreated bred infections. Many prisoners succumbed to these hardships, their physical endurance wearing down day by day. Beyond physical hardship, psychological torment was constant. Japanese guards used severe punishment, beatings, isolation, deprivation, to maintain order and intimidate prisoners. Cultural and language barriers intensified misunderstandings and cruelty. Communication among prisoners was often forbidden, and expressions of defiance or hope were brutally suppressed. However, prisoners developed covert means of resistance, forging bonds of camaraderie that were crucial to survival. Despite the brutality, prisoners formed clandestine support networks. Senior officers and experienced soldiers took leadership roles, organizing educational sessions, religious services, and cultural activities to preserve morale. Storytelling, music, and even makeshift theater were ways prisoners held on to their humanity and sanity. These efforts not only fostered community spirit, but also strengthened resilience against despair and hopelessness. Such solidarity was essential, and in many cases, it was the difference between life and death. The Palawan camp in the Philippines became famous for an audacious mass escape attempt. In 1944, prisoners launched a daring breakout that, although met with severe reprisals, symbolized courage and defiance. Meanwhile, in the notorious Bangka camp, the camp consisted of old Filipino constabulary buildings that were dilapidated and insufficient to house the men safely or humanely. The prisoners were subjected to constant beatings and mistreatment from their Japanese guards. Food rations were minimal, typically consisting of worm-infested Cambodian rice, and a thin soup made from sweet potato vines boiled in water. Malnutrition was common, and prisoners who could not work had their rations cut by 30%, worsening their already dire state. Despite the receipt of Red Cross packages beginning January 1944, the Japanese guards removed all medical supplies, leaving diseases and injuries untreated. Medical care was almost non-existent, and bouts of malaria, dysentery, scurvy, and other illnesses were frequent and often fatal. The camp environment was marked by fear and brutality. Escape attempts were met with summary execution. The guards regularly subjected prisoners to physical abuse and psychological torment. Punishments included beatings with pick handles, slapping, and kickings to maintain strict discipline. One of the most horrific events was the Palawan Massacre on December 14, 1944. Japanese soldiers forced around 150 American POWs into air raid shelters and doused them with gasoline before setting them on fire. Some prisoners tried to escape through burning shelters or by swimming across Puerto Princesa Bay. Only 11 men survived this massacre. Survivors like Army PFC Eugene Nielsen recounted being wounded and swimming for hours to safety, despite shark attacks. Several who escaped were aided by Filipino guerrillas and civilians, who fed, clothed, and helped transport them to safety. The massacre's aftermath was gruesome. Japanese soldiers hunted down survivors hiding among rocks or sewers. Wounded men were often killed in brutal ways, including being buried alive or burned, while guards celebrated with a macabre feast. Filipino resistance fighters played an essential role, relaying information to Allied forces and rescuing survivors, highlighting the camp's tragic human toll and heroism amid horror. Life in Palawan camp meant enduring near starvation, harsh labor, constant physical abuse, and the ever-present threat of death. The prisoners fought to survive through mutual support, courage, and sheer resilience, despite overwhelming odds. This tragic chapter stands as a haunting reminder of wartime cruelty, but also of the enduring strength of those who lived through it. Prisoners suffered from some of the harshest conditions imaginable: extreme heat, disease, starvation, and ruthless guards led to high mortality rates. Individual acts of heroism stand as testament to the indomitable spirit of these men. Figures such as Colonel James Van Fleet exemplify leadership and endurance, having inspired others through education and multiple escape efforts, risking all for their comrades. Japan's surrender in August 1945 brought freedom after years of unimaginable hardship. Yet, the process of reintegration was fraught with challenges. Many survivors faced debilitating physical ailments and the psychological burden of trauma. Post-traumatic stress disorder was poorly understood, and veterans often struggled silently. Rehabilitation took years, supported by families, fellow veterans, and emerging social programs aimed at aiding recovery and reintegration. The stories of these men remind us that victory in war is not just a moment, but a long, ongoing journey of healing. The legacy of American prisoners of war in Japanese camps is a powerful reminder of the immense cost of conflict and the extraordinary resilience of human beings under duress. Their stories underscore the importance of peace, humanity, and remembrance. By preserving and sharing these histories, we honor their sacrifice and ensure that future generations understand both the horrors of war and the enduring power of hope and courage. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to follow more compelling stories of history, heroism, and survival.